Welcome back. And earlier on we spoke about trying to get calorie balance right, and that being the most important thing regardless of whichever method is chosen to use for fat loss or muscle gain or whatever we're interested in regards to health and fitness. So what we're going to go through now is where we had the issue of profitability of the world and productivity becoming so high, and then food availability coming with that, with the uptake of factories and a ridiculous quantity of food that we can actually consume by mistake. Then we have technology has also risen. I mean, look at what we've got around us at the moment. We've got the internet and all of the crazy things that comes with it, and we've got technology which we can use on our side to enable calorie balance to be hit really, really easily. So we recommend a program, and we use this app for all of the people that followed Empowered by Eating and all of our clients historically and ourselves. Now, I'm a long-standing member of MyFitnessPal, which is the program. Now, I just want to say at this point, we are, as a social enterprise, of course, we're a not-for-profit organisation, but we're not taking any affiliation or profits from MyFitnessPal for doing this video. Although we would like to, it would help drive the business, and I'm sure it would also help drive people to MyFitnessPal. So for now, we're doing this purely because we know it's going to help you on the journey to finding out how much food is available in the world and managing to hit that calorie balance number, which is, you found out earlier on, is relevant for you. So we're going to go through MyFitnessPal and show you how to use it. So in the way we educate in this section, we go through, well, first of all, I'd like to say there's not just MyFitnessPal, there is other methods of doing this, but we prefer. So first of all, I'm not going to go through the download at this point. I presume that it's pretty simple for you to be able to go to the App Store within your phone and download the app called MyFitnessPal. And then go through. Now, it will take you through a little bit of a journey while setting up, and try to perhaps take all of the numbers it gives you with a pinch of salt, because as we spoke earlier on, there can be a calorie displacement through the science from two people exactly the same of 2,000 calories. So it's impossible for the app to then decide what your calories are. So the calculations you found earlier on will be the correct calories, which you'll start off at to find your maintenance, and then we'll work from there during the rest of the levels. So for the first part, we're going to explain that we're going to do this in 5 levels. Level 1 will be we're talking about how to put your body weight in there, which we spoke about earlier on as being really important while trying to find your average weight rather than trying to find your one daily weigh-in. This will help. It's a place where you can track it. The next thing is to look at today how to put your food in, how to add foods. Later on, through level 2, 3, 4 and 5, we'll add more information on how to make MyFitnessPal really interesting and very, very user-friendly. But for the minute, as with the rest of it, it's baby steps, and we work your way through how to become more advanced user of MyFitnessPal. So if you've used this already, you might find some of this program some of this training quite interesting, because there might be some stuff that you haven't thought of. We spoke earlier on about habits and beginning to track first. So your first goal, if you've never done this before, is to just put food in it. So start scanning the food and adding the food that you normally eat on a daily basis. That's your task 1 done, because that's a baby step in the right direction towards beginning to understand your calorie balance, which is for you. And for example, beginning the new habit process, if you add 5 days, add 5 days, add 5 days, within 20 days, if you do it 4 times and add on something new every 5 days, you should get to the point where it becomes quite easy. So from there, we like to go with the time to use the app, and if we have a look the quantity of time the app is used, we've got battery. Now, because I've just reset the phone and it's charging at the moment, it doesn't show. But if you go to this part of your phone, we're using obviously an iPhone at the moment, you can find out how long you've been using the app. What you'll find is for the first 5 days, probably be 20 minutes. For the second 5 days, it might be 10, and it should go down to 5. I personally average around about 3 to 5 minutes per day using an app for your health. If you think about it that way, and you look at, let's call it 5 minutes. 5 minutes using MyFitnessPal for your long-term health is very, very easy. So that's kind of why we try to get you to understand that it's baby steps, and this is a skill. You've got to learn it, and it's hard. It can be hard to do in the beginning. So the first thing to do is learn how to add foods. Obviously, we don't need to know what the calorie settings are just yet. We just want to be able to get foods in there that we're eating on a daily basis. So I have a packet of Cocoa Pops here, and later on I'll explain how this is very relevant in the creation of Empowered by Eating, due to the fact that I used to be a binge eater, unfortunately, and have what we coin temporary modern disordered eating, where I was restricting myself so badly that unfortunately I ended up eating too much Cocoa Pops. This is going back about 10 years ago. So this is very relevant during the system where I talk about stories where I ended up eating 2 or 3 boxes of these in a row, and I feel really guilty, and then end up restricting myself again and carrying on this cycle of binge eating. So the reason I've got Cocoa Pops here is simply to represent this later on in the video series on how you can use the strategies I use to get rid of binge eating altogether. So let's look at this now. If we've got a barcode on everything, on MyFitnessPal it has the option of scanning a barcode. So I'm not sure how well this is going to work while we're on the computer. Okay, so it doesn't work, which is fine because I've got the computer connected up. So the idea is you connect the barcode to it and it will come up. So what I can do is, because I've eaten this food already, obviously, we go to there. So you can see on the screen now we've got my Cocoa Pops showing up. So what we have to do next is just check that the food on the back of the packet, the numbers on the back of the packet are the same as the numbers on the computer, on the app. So what we do is set it to 100 gram, then we look on the packet and check that the numbers are the same. Oops, as we scroll down. So now we can see all we need to worry about is carbs, fats, proteins and fiber. So we just check 2.5, yes. Protein 5.5. Okay, this says 5. I feel like that's close enough, so that's okay. Then I go carbohydrates 85. It might sound like there's too much complicated information going on here. All we're doing is just checking the packet's right. Sometimes they might be wrong. But once you've done it, what happens is the app saves it, which is great. So what happens then is, let's say we're going to have 30 gram of Cocoa Pops, we can add that in. So the app, as you can see, now just adds it up and adds it to the quantity of food needed per day. So I'm currently at 3,000 calories for my goal, and it adds it to the top very, very simply, and level 1 being just calories. Later on we go into carbs, fats, proteins, fiber, micronutrients and vitamins and all of that good stuff. But for now we've got to get the baby steps in place, which is getting the calories in. After that, after we've got the calorie balance correct, we can move forward. So for now we've got Cocoa Pops in there. Pretty easy, pretty straightforward. So there are other ways of adding foods. On the app we can click add foods, and then there's 2 ways here we can do it. We can add it, change the quantity here, for example 15 gram, and we can click the button to add the food. Now we've got 2 servings. So then we can also go add, and this is where it becomes really, really quick as we get to use the app quickly. On the more up-to-date version, and this changes all the time, so this is relevant as of today, which is 15th of August 2016. This changes and gets better all the time. So I can swipe left and add the food. Now that's done in one swipe. We can go back and we can see it's added it. It's really, really good. So what about deleting it because we've done too many? We just go to the left, right and swipe left, press delete, swipe left, press delete. So with Cocoa Pops, normally we have milk. So I can either do what I did before and I can scan the packet of milk, or I can go add food and I know it's in the fridge already and it's skim milk. So I type in skimmed and it's this version, and now this is the next stage. So where I said 30 gram with the Cocoa Pops and I said 130 ml here with milk, and I add it for semi-skim milk, There we go, added it up, dead easy. So as you can see, it becomes quicker and quicker and quicker as you get to use it. But what you might be thinking if you've never used this before is, how do I know what 30 grams of Cocoa Pops is? Which is right. So to get really good at Empowered by Eating, you need to have digital scales to be able to weigh the food. Now, so in the beginning stages, you can become quite obsessed almost with it to get the weight exactly right, depending on your personality type, which in level 3 and 4 of Empowered by Eating, we go through personality types and how that fits within your fitness, whether you're a detailed person or whether you're a more creative person. So that we help you with that bit later on as well. So you might be thinking now, but I've got to weigh the food. So again, baby steps and that 5-day habit creation rule. Once you start putting food on the scales, especially with cereals, for example, if you like that in the morning for breakfast, you will realize that the food has a really high calorific content for the weight of it. So for example, a packet will say healthy and green and will be really good for you, and it will say 30 grams. And you get that muesli, for example, and put 30 grams in a bowl, it will be 2 tablespoons, and it won't be the serving that probably you've been historically having. So then you start finding loopholes within your own nutritional intake that you've historically done, where you realize that, oops, I've been over consuming on foods that I thought were healthy. And this goes back to the availability of food again, where we end up accidentally consuming too many calories, even from healthy foods. So from that, we start adding it in. So we've added the foods in, we've checked that the calories are right, we've checked that the carbs, fats, proteins and fiber are right, which we call macros, and that's level 2 in the coming videos. And then we start adding the foods in. So the next part, you can see I've added chicken cooked and chicken uncooked. So it's a discussion that always goes on within people who do this on their phone with MyFitnessPal, is the difference between the weight of uncooked and cooked chicken. Now, if you can imagine, the water runs away from the chicken once we cook it. If we cook it on a George Foreman or a griddle, or we grill it or something like that. So the key here is to be consistent in your method chosen to cook your chicken. So for example, if you want to be really exact and you want to go a little bit higher, we teach this more in the higher levels, but it's important to know at this stage because the difference can be quite high. So ideally, the best thing to do is use cooked versions of the chicken. So after you cook it, you can weigh it. So if you come to a situation where you're going to throw the chicken into a stew, for example, you might want to do uncooked. So this is why there's 2 versions of it. Now it will weigh different, and it's important to understand there's a difference in weight. The calories will be different simply because of the size of the chicken breast. So cooked chicken, because the water's run away from it, you will need more chicken to create the 75 gram, which I've put in here, compared to uncooked, which will have water in it. So an easy way to distinguish this within your your mind, so to speak, is to just simply understand there's a difference in weight between cooked and uncooked. This also goes to pasta and similar foods like that, where you'd have to choose cooked or uncooked. And ideally with pasta, you want to go with always uncooked, because the quantity of time you cook pasta will dictate the weight it is at the end. So if you like your pasta al dente, you will end up with pasta that weighs less than the English way of cooking pasta, which is usually overcooked, because the pasta will be a lot heavier and a lot more full, have a lot more water weight. So it's harder to find out what the actual calorific content is. So use uncooked, and then what you can do is, I'm going to do this live now if I can find pasta. It's not one of the foods I eat regularly, so it's okay, I have pasta here. So at this point I'm going to type in pasta, but we're going to go and search the whole database of MyFitnessPal. So this has the green ticks next to the items. So you can see the top one here hasn't got a green tick, which means it hasn't been authorized by MyFitnessPal, which means the people who use this, us and you guys, have entered the first one in, and MyFitnessPal haven't checked it against a packet, like I said earlier. So if we go to this one and we type in, we look 4 grams. So this is one of the problems we hit quite often in the UK, for example, is we don't understand cups, but American people would. So they will just click on cups. If you're accustomed to that, you can click on 2 cups and understand that this is 2 cups. So the issue with this one, as we can see, is that cooked or uncooked? Because it just says pasta. So we ideally look down the list to find uncooked, and we can't. So we go back to the database, we type in uncooked. Now we've got penne pasta uncooked. So we quickly scroll down. There isn't any green ticks from MyFitnessPal. So what we do is we can type in 100 gram. This is where the first time using that packet of food can be a little bit tedious, because you have to just check it's right. In the beginning stages, don't even bother. Just get it in there and start using the app to track your calories. So what we're going to do now is you can use Google just to quickly check pasta uncooked. So this would be the first time. So pretty much I never do this anymore, because I know the quantity of calories within most foods because I've got used to it over time. And you can go down the list. I'm doing this live, obviously. And I'm going to type in calories as well. Sometimes it's quicker than others. Google normally does it quicker. So now we can see NutriCheck and Google is now telling us the quantity of pasta. And we're just simply looking down the list to find a website that's given us the uncooked dried weight, which is this website. And then we can check. There's 100 gram, and we can tell. We could just go with them calories there, which says 356. We can go back to the app, 355. So we're pretty close, within 1 calorie. We can trust that one. Now what we do, get the scales. We can put the quantity of pasta in there, and I feel that 50 gram would be a good serving. That's probably what I would have. I would add it in there. I'd put 50 gram in the pan and boil it. So the question might come, what happens if you've got a family of 4? What do you do? So we would put 200 gram in there, in the bowl. So we know that in the pan there's 200 gram, and then what you would do then is understand that that pan is going to be divided by 4, or it could be 4 meals for yourself for 4 days, and then we put 50 gram and know that for the next 4 days we're going to have that 50 gram of pasta. So the good news is, what we can do now is we can know that we're going to have that tomorrow. We can click on the pasta. In fact, we can click on edit at the top, click on the pasta, we can say copy food at the bottom left, we can say tomorrow, and I know I'm going to have it in the evening, so I'll say evening meal, add it. Now if we go to tomorrow by clicking the top right arrow, I can see it's there ready for us. So it becomes really, really quick. Now you can see it as I'm going through teaching you how to use this. It becomes so quick for me to use, to the point where I'm 5 minutes a day, and the app shows that on my phone. So today's going to be a bit different, obviously, because I'm doing a video. But yeah, most days is 5 minutes. The next thing to talk about would be goal settings. So if we go to home on the app, we can see you can add your friends there as well. If we go to more, and this changes quite regularly, and it's something I haven't done since the beginning. So I'm just going to go through and check my personal diary settings. Now, you can set your weight and your height and things like that. It's not actually that necessary. But there are some settings you might want to go through to change. So they're the settings, and I'm looking for goal, which is at the top. Goal is where you'd set your current weight and your goal weight. Now the problem with this is the app has no way of knowing your level of metabolism, which we're going to teach later on. And you learn earlier on within the video series that your metabolism is different for everybody, and we're using you to find your maintenance phase to find out where your maintenance is. So the app can't know that. Unfortunately, the majority of the general public and world will just presume that the calculator would know it because it's a very well-known app. Now, unfortunately, it can make you dramatically undereat or dramatically overeat, depending on your particular metabolism or your particular goals within your health and fitness journey. So the idea is for you to get it right, which is the whole reason this whole thing has been put together, so you understand it for you, and you can go away and learn and use it for the rest of your life. and change with your goals. So I have just a random weight in there for the start. I have gone through and put the goals in, but it's not necessary. But it does make you do it. Now, nutrition goals, and the default goal is mine's 3,000 at the moment. So in fact, I'm going to actually live change this on my own MyFitnessPal because I've currently increased my calories recently because I'm going through the lean muscle phase, which is later on in a series. So I've increased my calories slightly because my weight hasn't increased. So in level 2, which is later on, we talk about carbs, fats, proteins and fiber, and we give you a percentage to hit. So the ideal percentage, which might sound a little bit unbelievable at the moment, later on you'll understand why in terms of the energy and the fats and the carbs and the proteins that we need for our body in level 2, and the science behind all that. But for the moment, 50%, 25%, 25% is an easy rule of thumb way of doing it for level 1 and level 2. So I've got it set at that at the moment, as you can see, and that's where I currently am. I'm using MyFitnessPal at the moment. So that's now set for my new calories. So you can see where it says add daily goal. This will make you pay. Now, I've not used this setting yet, and I believe that $7.99 a month to be able to change some of the settings is a little bit excessive, but some people might want to be able to use that to add on. But at the moment, at this stage, because I haven't reviewed it and I haven't checked it out, I can't actually give a good review on what actually the difference is. So for now, potentially you could just leave that. I've been using it for many years without, but I know some people might want to go that a little bit further. So the next thing is to talk about eating out, where I'm jumping backwards and forwards between different things here, but to eat out, we can find restaurants where they do actually have the calories on the menu. So yesterday, for example, I actually went to Nando's. So all of a sudden, from using Empowered by Eating, you can actually not feel guilty about going out to a restaurant. So I had a chicken fillet burger, as you can see, and on their menu, within the online version of their menu, they've got the app which tells you how much calories is within that meal. So as you can see, it gives us the carbs, the fats, the proteins, the fiber. Perfect. I can add that to my diary. So that now shows that that's what I ate if I went to that restaurant. So then you can go and look at other things within different restaurants. So what do you do if it's not on the menu? If it's not on the menu, you can use the eyeball method, which we teach in level 4. So the eyeball method is, it's in level 4 because for level 1, it's very difficult to be able to guess the size of a chicken breast, for example, at Nando's. You wouldn't be able to guess the size of it, but once you've been putting your chicken breast on the scales for a few months, you'll be able to just then go, okay, so I know that that's about 100 gram or about 75 gram. So then you can start getting close to that calorie goal rather than excessively shooting over. So if you were to go to a restaurant, ideally, if you were in the fat loss phase, which we teach more in level 2, if you're in the fat loss phase, ideally you'd want to go for whole ingredients where it's easier to go, okay, 2 tomatoes, 1 chicken breast, bread, you can guess it a bit easier. If you, for example, go to a curry house and you have a curry meal, it's impossible to know whether 10 spoonfuls of oil have been put in there. Let's actually do this live now. Olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. I don't know if this one has spoonfuls, but one spoonful is 15 mil, roughly. So it's impossible to know whether there's 10 spoonfuls of oil been put in, where the guy just pours the oil into the curry, or whether there's 2. So the problem is, when we're trying to hit within a certain number, because if we go over, we're going to gain fat. If we go under, our hormonal balance and our metabolic adaptation might happen if we keep going under too much. We want to stay within that number. You can see just by going to a restaurant that you could be dramatically out just by guessing with certain meals. So at this point, I don't want to scare you away from going out. What I want to try and do is make it achievable within modern life. So on the social media and things like that, we'll keep going through different methods we use, but ideally it's restaurants with the calories on the menu, which is actually changing, and to the point where the way we're teaching this whole empowered eating system, we feel so comfortable and so confident with everything in the system that in 5 to 10 to 15 years time, people will still be using these methods, and it won't be just a majority, it will be the minority, it'll be the majority of people will be doing this because we have to. So we're in essence, and you guys as well, we're kind of beating the trend. We're like being futurists of health and fitness. So you're doing what people will be doing in 5 years time before everyone has to do it, with obesity predicted to be 60% by 2050. So in level 3 and 4, we talk about temporary modern disordered eating, where we fall trap to the way the health and fitness industry has forced upon us methods of eating and made us scared of food. So our mission is to make you not scared of food and make it fit your life. So later on we talk about methods on how to get rid of binge eating and some eating disorders that aren't medically diagnosed. So for example, for myself, I was fully a binge eater. I would restrict myself all week, then overconsume at the weekends or just when my willpower broke. So we're trying to remove that willpower breaking by not using willpower all the time. And this allows you to do it, this whole system. So later on we'll talk in detail about this. But for now, while using the app, if you were to add spinach into MyFitnessPal and you just grab a handful of spinach and throw it into your salad or whatever you're going to do, it's going to be 12 calories. Already we can see the difference between the calories and the chicken burger from Nando's is 12 calories. It's almost nothing, to the point where you could argue that you don't need to calculate the calories, but it does give us a reading of carbs, fats, proteins, fiber, and helps add up for the overall day if you're going to be accurate. Now, if you go and put in a handful of nuts, I don't know if I've eaten nuts recently, let's say walnuts, a handful of walnuts, in essence, just a guess, a big handful would be about 100 gram. So a handful of nuts would be 706 calories. So you can see the difference between a handful of spinach and a handful of nuts. I know it sounds logical and obvious, but if we start obsessing about 51 gram of spinach compared to 101 gram of nuts, we've got a big difference in displacement in calories. So with the spinach, it's one of them things you can pretty much just guess after you've done it once. With the nuts, I'd recommend weighing every single time because they have such a huge calorific value. So what happens then is you can understand that you can become too obsessed with certain foods. So then you can kind of take away the obsessive behavior that happens to come with this for some people. So just be a little bit careful and chase yourself around the app and just make sure that you're not being too obsessive. Make sure that you are fitting certain things within your life, like going out. But later on, we'll talk about how to remove a lot of the temporary modern disordered eating within the health and fitness, which has been caused by the way people are scared of food. So we don't want that. We want you to be able to enjoy your life and love to eat, because we all want you to be empowered as well. So as we move on throughout the system, when we get to level 2, 3, 4 and 5, we bring in different parts on how to use this a lot better. So for example, level 2, we bring in macros and how to get that exactly right, and how to use the pie chart within the app, because when we click on the top left, we have a pie chart there, which you can see on the screen now, and how to understand carbs, fats, proteins and fiber. We go through that. We also go through how to create meals, how to save meals, how to copy and share with your friends, how to copy and share from our version of MyFitnessPal, how to share what you're doing with other people. We also go through the option to pay, because later on we'll be doing that, and also the skill of the last meal. So we want to be able to help you get used to choosing a food that you like to eat at the end of the day, which fits into your lifestyle and is really easy to get your macros right, which is level 2 and above, and some other cool settings you can do on the app to make it easier to use. But overall, that's a nice taster into MyFitnessPal, and I hope that you learned a little bit more about the app and you can go ahead and make your first step into beginning to hit your calorie balance, which we now know is the most important thing to health, fitness and wellness before you start doing the more complicated stuff. So thank you very much and see you in the next video.